welcome editor Myron Kerstein. Marc Platt, star Cynthia Erivo, Marc has a little announcement.
First of all, hello everybody. Thank you for coming out on the wet evening. I hope you all enjoyed the film tonight. Sadly, Ari got a little under the weather. She's been coughing and she has no voice, and so I sent her home because she's been working, and she has to continue working. So please forgive me, but she didn't have any voice left, and she's very tired. So I'll leave you all. But she sends her love to all, and she's regret she cannot be here.
I would love to start just how you're all feeling where you are now. We're at over 700 million at the box office, 10 Oscar nominations. You worked on this movie a long time. How does it feel right now?
I mean, it's unbelievable for me. I love this cast so much. I love this crew so much. Everyone worked so hard, and we were scared to death, every bit of it. We all linked arms and said we were going to just take a big swing and try. So the fact that the audience accepted it and loved it in a way, it's been the best. It's the most giving time in our life, very validating. And I'm also working on number 2 right now, so my
This movie, when we see number 2, I'm going to tunnel myself into this editing suite just to like sneak a peek at you.
Zoom.
I feel like you have some clout to really get in there.
False.
How about for you, Marc and Myron? Well, has it been a whirlwind? Is it just to feel never ending at this point?
Well, for me, I've been with Wicked for 25 years, so it's been quite a journey, and I would say it's very gratifying. For years, the fans of Wicked have protected the story, loved the characters, really tended to the story, and to have those fans and have so many new fans around the world appreciate the film and the beautiful work that Jon M did, and that these women, the way they portray these 2 girls, put their souls and their hearts and found truth and authenticity, and so it's very gratifying. It's really slightly overwhelming and very moving to me.
This is just icing on the cake because I've been making something amazing with a friend, a brother in Jon M, and with my crew, and I'm being inspired by Cynthia and Ari's performance like every day for 2 years, and now I'm doing it again on the second movie. So it's just the gift that keeps on giving. It's just been an incredible journey.
Yeah, and again, look at this. I mean, I'm so excited.
Are you guys see the movie before? Right?
A few of you did see it? Yeah. If you are familiar with Marc Platt, you should look him up on YouTube because his credit list is pretty impressive. His first ever Broadway production was Wicked, which is foray into producing Broadway plays. How would you kind of summarize the experience of making this film and how it's set apart?
I waited a very long time to make this film, some 20 years, for many, many reasons, not the least of which was the bar was so high for me to want to live up to expectations, and destiny has a way of finding its way to you, and my destiny was finding Jon M to direct the film. It was a very long process and a long shoot, and much of it was very arduous, but it was joyful. It was joyful every day, and mostly because all those involved in it, I felt a sense of love and protection of the characters in the story, in the sense that they were trying to create something that was a legacy that would live beyond them, that would be that fall in line with the Wizard of Oz as it had come before. And so every day on the set was that sense of we're doing something lucky, and yet we have such an obligation to do something great. And it was joyful. It really was.
Yeah, I got to speak to some of the actors throughout this process, and it just seems from top to bottom, everyone involved, you just found the right people at the right time to create kind of actual movie magic. Jon, I'm wondering, what was kind of the most daunting aspect ahead of production, and how did that evolve, and you know, if it's climbing, conquering a great precipice or anything like that, or how you feel on the other side of it?
Finding Elphaba. You don't have a movie if you don't have the right alphabetic Linda. You just don't. We could prep, we could write, we could do everything we wanted to do. If there's not the people on the ground to infuse these characters with things that we could never think of in our bedroom or in a conference room, if she's not imbuing it with real, raw emotions that actually connect with the audience at this time, at this moment, to bring the relevancy to the story that's been around, but also with Wizard of Oz itself. But to bring this message underneath all the sugar. Yes, they're great voices. Yes, they can dance. Yes, they can do all these things. But it is the vulnerability that Cynthia and Ari are able to give to these characters that everyone's connecting with. We knew that these characters were already strong, but when you have a movie is basically like a magnifying glass. You got to get in there, and there's a lot of gaps that had to be filled. And what they did, what I loved when I first saw Cynthia, is she brought life to this thing that I never thought could exist. There's a version of Elphaba where you do the very stereotypical version, where she's the nerd with the frumpy outfit and the thing. And Cynthia, the first thing she said to me, and this is a scary proposition when you're starting to go on the journey, is she has self-respect. It doesn't matter if people don't like her, she has self-respect. She's going to dress the way she wants to, and she's going to take care of herself. She isn't dirty, she doesn't have, she has to have the things that make her. And that is a character that you actually can get into and grow. And so I appreciate so much that we found Cynthia Erivo. This movie does not resonate the way it is.
Well, on it, Cynthia, I'm wondering, you find out you get the part, then what? Like, what was kind of the next move? What work began? What was kind of that experience leading up to production? Because I feel like I know you and Ariana worked endlessly.
Yeah.
Like, before, after, during, all the hours.
Yeah, I knew that Alpha would be really physical, so that starts, lots of training starts, vocal work starts, and I wanted to learn script, but I still wanted to leave room for the possibility of what might come from where I'm playing opposite. You don't want to cement everything in your head so much that you don't give your counterpart the room to just play, because there's such a lovely opportunity to receive whatever comes at you. And when you have Ari opposite you, who is so good at being in the moment, you want to be able to react to what comes to you naturally. But I had to get my body ready for it, because I knew I was going to be doing my own stunts, and I scared Jon of telling me that I would like to do my own stunts. I scared Marc. I wanted to do my own stunts.
Scared the insurance company.
But they all trusted me enough to let me do that. I had a wonderful fight coordinator and stunt coordinator, Jon M, who was just sort of ready to give me the tutelage that I needed in order to know what it felt like to be in the wires and know what it felt like to be in the harness. And then I had an amazing vocal coach, Cynthia Erivo, who helped me learn what it felt like to sing in a harness up in the air when you don't have the ground underneath you. And then with all of that, a lovely, wonderful, divine, exquisite director, Jon M, who gave us lots of room to play around with what these characters would be going through, the emotions and the journey that they might go on. You can't really get to Defying Gravity without The Wizard and I. You know, can't really get to Defying Gravity without, I'm Not That Girl. All of those moments in her journey take her one step further. And so we had to find out, how do we make something that could be one-dimensional and just annoyed or angry or real true heartbreak if you don't believe in the first place. So we started playing around with how that felt and what that could look like, and maybe using each of these songs as a way to move her forward. There's sort of like the emotional heartbeat that moves you to the next story.
Yeah. How did you kind of handle, or what did you enjoy about paying subtle homage or overt homage while also creating your own output?
What I enjoyed, I mean, the music is the music. It's really music, you know. So that template is already really rich, and so all I had to do is find the truth, find what my version of the truth in that melody. What would that be? So instead of something like but that's just because it wasn't that I was forcing a riff into something. It's just that's what came out for me, because in my head the sound of that progression is the length of something, the falling is something. And when we were working on Garrity finding the war cry was another moment where I was given sort of like the permission to create my own. I originally sang it by Bible, like as was the original version that I had heard Idina Menzel sing, and I was very happy to do just that. But Stephen Davis and Stephen Schwartz, we were working on the comps for rehearsals, and when I sang it Bible, there was like a pause, and he said, "Great, so what's your version?" And I said, "Oh, okay." I have a choice here. So I tried a couple different things, and it's about really trying to find what was the most visceral, most truthful version of a rule. And one thing wasn't right, I tried another thing, and then I tried What You Hear, and that felt really good. And I remember I did it, I had my eyes closed, and it felt good. I opened my eyes, and Stephen Schwartz was okay. And that kind of stuck. The more I did it, the more it felt right. And those sort of, every time I made a sort of minute choice, it became just right, you know? It became, the more I did those little things, the more it became mine, the more it felt like it was from me.
Yeah, so good for that. Myron, I love, we discussed this stat a little bit before. Jon had 250 hours of footage. That's for both films, not just Outline, just to clarify. Can you talk to us a little bit about maybe the sneakiest challenge for you, or certain sequences that we can now go rewatch a bunch of times? That
Yeah, I'll start at hour one. There we go. I mean, the challenge was just to listen to the footage, you know. I mean, Cynthia is fierce. I mean, even when she just did that little riff, I just get goosebumps. And that's what I was trying to listen to when the footage was pouring in. And I would sit in we built a little screening room in London, and I would just sit there alone, and it was this real ritual, this special place, and watching, the Yellow Brick Road, and just coming to life. Oz was coming to life, and so I would sit there and I would laugh and cry and get these goosebumps, and I would just, I was watching two stars being born in front of me, and I was just taking it all in, and then, slowly just make your way through it and try to, just embrace the performance that is in front of you, and hopefully, the great ones like Cynthia, they make it really easy. All the other technical stuff like flying monkeys and goats and all that fun stuff, that's a little bit hard. When Jon came to me and said, "Hey, let's make The Wizard of Oz meets Lord of the Rings," like, okay, how hard could that be? And then, but then he's like, "Let's make the greatest love story that's ever been told, and it's about this relationship." And I was like, "Okay, I got that. Let's make that film." And so it's just listening to your heart and not getting lost in it. And then, of course, we have an incredible VFX team, great music editors, great sound design. Like everyone is supporting Jon and I through this last 2 years of the process, and we get to make something like this.
Right.
I think people underestimate the complicated nature of making a musical, because it's our job to make it feel like butter, like it just flows off. But if you don't have Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande, someone who already is a master at each of these crafts, acting, you have to have the full breath of that. Singing, you have to have the full breath. That has to come so naturally from you that it can't feel like a performance on top of the scene. And then you you have to have it, across the board, the production design, the camera has to work with those things. The restraint that Myron has to have. One, he's digging up. He can change a lot of performances and make it crazy, or he can be on the same page and discover it as if he were there every day in our rehearsals and uncover these little nuggets and piece together and hold back and let the filmmakers not get in the way sometimes. And the Ozdeath is a great example of that. The restraint, because she's giving so much, both of them are giving so much. The camera is pulled back, letting them play, and then he has to have the restraint and the power to say, play the silence. The audience needs to feel uncomfortable. And then Marc has to go to bat for us against the studio and say, we have to feel uncomfortable. The silence is okay. So all these things, you have to be a maestro at all these things in order for it to happen. And on top of that, it has to say something of what we're going through now in our world. And all those things together have to have one singular wave thread that we were all on top. And I think that's the magic trick of the movie, actually.
Yeah, I think that I've seen Myron stage. There's a lot of magic tricks in the movie, I think. Again, all departments fire on all cylinders. One thing I really loved learning about was, with your production design, your costume design, both Oscar nominated as well. And speaking with Marissa Bodie, your wonderful Nessa Rose, she kind of has raved about the adaptive elements, that production was kind of really collaborative with her, helping create a new chair, helping her wheelchair chair, maybe same for Cecily. Can you talk a little bit about collaborating with her, and then also maybe what you all learned just in getting to incorporate that aspect?
You go first,
I mean, look, it was important to us that Marissa was such a beautiful and wonderful discovery, that she was a participant and a collaborator in how she presented herself as the character. Her chair is an extension of her, we came to really learn. And the characterization shifted for Nessa Rose slightly to someone who's fiercely independent. Because she, not someone to be pitied, was a little bit where it originated from. And what was the most interesting to me in that process was that it organically fit into what Wicked is all about. Because the land of Oz and the culture and society of Oz is completely inclusive. Doesn't matter what you look like, who you are, or if you're in a chair, and or you're an animal, the full culture, and the accessibility that was built into the sets wasn't just for Marissa to have access, but that's the culture that was Oz. You can be anything except one thing. You can't be green, which is completely arbitrary. And that is the nature of prejudice and the nature of the other. It's a social construct. People have wickedness thrust upon them, they're born with it. What is good and what is evil. So being green and Oz is completely arbitrary, because you can be anything. It's a construct, and it teaches us where does prejudice come from? Why do we look at someone who is different than us, who looks different, acts different, loves different, votes different, prays different, and make them an other? And that's really at the heart of a lot of what Wicked's about. And the Marissa collaboration was really an extension of that story, and really became part of that journey for us. What the whole story is.
She taught us a lot, actually, about ableist thinking and how why this script or this line feels ableist, or hey, when you touch my chair, you gotta ask me. That's my body. Oh, when you design my chair, you don't just design a chair and put me in it. This is my chair, this is a part of me, so you design off of my chair as if it's a costume on my chair. And that took a lot of learning. That took a lot of real conversations, bringing in people who've done this for generations to say, you're doing it a new way. And you don't want the stairs to go up and shiz, we have to create a ramp now. And it has to be a part of the set itself. And maybe we're the first fantasy movie that actually has accessibility built in to the actual set of it. Again, not as actors off camera, but on camera. And now, I think Broadway just announced their first wheelchair user playing Nessa. That starts in a couple weeks. How amazing is that? Anyway,
Yeah.
we learned a lot.
Oh, again, I just think that's such a fun talking point, because Marissa, again, herself, I think she maybe wants the chair that you guys built for her also. Maybe after part 2 comes out, I can do it. I want to kind of talk more with Cynthia and the physicality of everything. The choreography people are obviously obsessed with. I'm sure some of these wonderful people here maybe know some of it. Is choreography for you something that kind of stays with you forever? Like, are there certain things that will stay with you in your body, or is it something that you were able to do, nail, and then sort of say goodbye to after you?
I think this choreography probably stays with me. Some choreography will be done and then will leave me. But this one, I felt really strongly about it because I worked with Chris Scott, Jericho, and all of us together. And when I went into rehearsal the first time, they had something really beautiful that didn't feel like Alfie. And so I asked if it was possible for us to come up with something that felt like it was of her movement. I really believe that she just moved differently to other people. I felt like she was less the curves and the circles and the soft edges that everything else was. She was more jagged, more straight lines, more angles. So I wanted to have that as a part of the choreography. And so when we started re-choreographing this piece, that's when all these angles come up. And there's the shoulders, it's all of that sort of jagged lines, all of this, all the squares that we create before, it's quick and that quick, slow, quick, slow, all of that action. So that doesn't leave me because we remade it together. It was part of her movement. It wasn't just a dance. It was almost a language that she spoke, And I love it because prior to now, not many people knew that I danced, but I danced.
Definitely.
So it was fun to be able to.
Yeah. Do you find that when you're speaking to fans and audiences, that those tears are shed during or after the Oz's ballroom scene, or more toward the end? I'm just wondering collectively how you feel. I shed the most tears personally at the Oz's.
Well, also what's really amazing is that a lot of people laugh more after the Ozas. And so we would, when we got the Ozas sort of in the right place, once you get to popular, people just love these characters so much. They're just laughing even more with every screaming. It just felt like, okay, this is working because we've earned this relationship. And it was just fascinating that, the audience, we just have to earn their trust. And I just, and of course, I would cry every time I watch it. I said even in the Raw Dailies. But it's everyone just loves these characters so much after.
I think the brilliance of Cynthia and Ari in the Ozfest scene is Cynthia, when she comes down the stairs, it's like years and years of wounds, and you really feel the truth of that. And I think also with Ari, it's they say comedy is tragedy without dignity, and so we're laughing at her most. She's funny, she's like, but we're laughing at that it's ridiculous. But at that moment when they connect, you laugh after that with her because you root for her. And when she says to her, it's not your fault, it's the milk flower's fault. And it's just a simple way of thinking. And I love your look there, because I didn't know that was going to happen. You look at her like, why did I get you right? And she says, oh look, it's tomorrow. That's when I fall in love with both of them. That's when you fall in love with them. And I think that allows Popular to have a place in this movie, not just as a fun, hey, look, Popular, but like, now you believe in them, and you want her to show her how to access this power of influence. It's not just popular, it's influence. And then I love that she wraps that pink thing around you, and then later in Defying Gravity, she takes the sheet, she wraps it around you to protect you. I think those things, those big moves clues in that that are brilliant and that was happening. I'm not sure conscious or not conscious, but we were just following the relationship, and I watched it being birthed with them, and every piece of it we were talking about in the room every day. I was like, how do you build that? How do you see that? How do you set the scale?
You know what? One of the things that I also, I don't even know if we realised that this happened, but in the All-Stars, there's obviously we don't speak, and then when we get to the very end, when she has to say goodbye, when she does put that cape around me, we also don't speak. But it's also, there's still tiny little dances that we have to, and they're big conversations that we're having with no words whatsoever. I will never forget you saying, tell her it's okay, and you be strong for her. So we knew afterwards, we had said to Ari, don't cry, be strong for her. So she could get that cape, you put it around her and you tell her, you be strong, and you send her off, you say cry. And then you said to me, tell her everything's going to be okay. That's where the word came from, because we hadn't rehearsed that. So these moments where we have these conversations of when we were in the Ozdust and the tears fall, that just is what happened. When I look at her before we begin the dance, again, it's not a rehearsal, it's just the question is in the eyes, now what do we do now? But well, by the time we get to that conversation in Divine Gravity, we've grown enough to know how to have a conversation that says goodbye and you're going to be okay. And you can't come with me, I can't take you with me. But this will still be okay.
Yeah, I love that. Some of the stuff that you find with the right co-star, right? We talk a lot about that.
I didn't even tell Myron about those moments. That happened one take, one moment, and then what's the best about Myron is he keeps finding all that stuff. It's basically as it was in the assembly when I first walked into the studio.
I was gonna say, Myron found all those moments, but it's more than it just happened. It's you know, when you see Wicked, you think about, take away these two women, Cynthia and Ari, you think about the power of their voices, the beauty of their voices, the power, the way they deliver lyrics. You think about how funny Ari is or how powerful Cynthia is, but the real genius of their craft as actors is in the silences, and it's in the eyes where there's no dialogue. It's Cynthia's ability to turn to her father and give a look that tells you that this is a girl who has had no love in her life. Just by her look, there's no dialogue. And I just wanted to say that, I don't get a chance to say stuff like that, but I think that's such beautiful craftsmanship as an actress, to be able to communicate here without, beyond your voice and your vocal, and make us feel in an instant a whole story and a whole emotion and a whole life. So.
This movie every minute, right? I want to kind of end on, since we don't have Ari here with us, I wonder, Cynthia, you could kind of, it has been incredible to watch you both kind of love each other through this process and what you brought out of each other. Can you talk just a little bit about the magic of kind of your connection? I know it's, or just, how, even just how your voices blend is pretty much, just that's just a special thing you don't get on every project.
Yeah, I'd like to use the word the magic a lot, actually, because I do feel like there's a little bit of magic there. And we did not audition with each other. We did not read with each other. The first time we sang was at John's house when he asked for us to come around, and we have not heard each other sing together. So we
And already hired, like we never
we didn't do a chemistry or anything. So when we discovered that our voices work together, it really was a discovery. We sort of realized that the both of us have the propensity to listen. When you sing with someone, it's a very, very vulnerable thing to do. You have to want to be willing to hear the other person more than you need to hear yourself. And so the fact that I was willing to do it for her, she was willing to do that for me, meant that we could really make our voices known. Our voices are very different separately, but when we come together for some reason, they just look the same. And I say look the same because when we would record the comps for rehearsals, Greg Wells Charles, our producer, music producer, would send us the picture of the vocal wave, and they would look exactly the same. But it's that you have to understand that it doesn't happen with two singers. The vocal wave that rarely vocal waves don't look the same. We also have very different instruments, so why on earth would that? The digital would pick it up in that way. But the thing that she and I have done from the very beginning is really cultivate honesty. So that from the very beginning it was a question, what do you need? What do I need? And how can I do that for you? And how can you do that for me? So that the more we grew, the more we learned what we needed without even really needing to speak with each other. I can tell when she needs to go home and rest. She can tell when I need to go home and rest. I can tell when it's time for us to take a second and just like step off to the side. And she can tell when something's not right, or when it's like a day for being silly, and it's just like what it is. You know, we have this unspoken language that has been created because we learned and wanted to get to know each other, like actually actively wanted to get to know who we are as people before who we are as professional actors. And we both deeply respect what we do. I love her very much. I know she loves me. And I think it sounds cliche, like people will believe it's cliche, and I think sometimes we get a little bit scared of seeing people be good to each other. And we get a little bit scared of seeing two people be emotional and share their emotions. But I think what's been lovely is that neither one of us care if you don't like it. It works for us. We have to be, we've been with each other for this point almost 2 years. And when you are willing to that's a relationship. There are couples that have not been together for 2 years. You know what I mean? If you're going to spend that amount of time with a person, the least you could do is actually get to know them, learn them. Because then that's when all of that special stuff happens, like the stuff that you don't expect on set, the stuff that you don't expect to happen, just happens because you've taken the time to get to know and to trust. You build the trust enough to just be like, well, if she's going to play today, I'm just going to be a witness. So in Popular, it was the biggest pleasure of my life to just be there, be a witness to all of the ridiculousness that she has done. And I just be like, if you need to, glasses on the nose, fine. You're going to do the splits on the chandelier, great. I will just watch. Because then the reactions are real, because I'm just like, how far are we going to go? I'm ready. You know, and the same for her, when I know that I am safe, so I can do Defying Gravity that way. I can, I remember there's I don't know if anyone's seen it, but there's the shot when I did my very first stunt was to jump from one side of the attic to the other over the open space. And the moment I land, she is jumping up and down, screaming on the other side. And because she's just as happy for me as everyone else is, but like probably more than everyone else. More than my stunt coordinator. You know? But it means that you know that you have a cheerleader in your counterpart. We are partners in this. We are sisters in this. So yeah, I'm crying a little bit. That's what you do when you care about someone. We love, and we gossip and speak and get silly, and he gets annoyed because we forget he's there. It happens, you know. But it's out of love.
Can you imagine being in John Chu's living room and just sitting there, and then all of a sudden Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo sit down at the piano where Steven Schwartz starts to fiddle on the piano and starts to sing a song from the second film called For Good.
Well, it's so, I mean, it's so wonderful you guys all stayed and hung out with this wonderful cast. Again, 10 Oscar nominations.